Over the past 3 decades, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class has long been considered to be the benchmark if you're thinking about an executive mid-size luxury sedan. Now obviously since then, a lot of things have changed, and while this model used to be among the best-selling vehicles in the Benz lineup, that distinction now belongs to the GLE class. However, that hasn't stopped the E-Class from still being a technological tour de force, and this car has some of the most loyal buyers in the luxury sedan industry. Now for 2024, Mercedes-Benz is looking to reset that benchmark yet again with an all-new 6th generation of the E-Class. It rides on the updated architecture that also underpins the new S-Class and smaller C-Class, and as you can see this week, the company has loaned us essentially the top model for now until the AMG versions arrive. This right here is a 2024 E450, which means we have a 3-liter turbocharged and electrified inline-6 under the hood. And the big question I want answered for those of you who are still in the market for a mid-size luxury sedan: has Mercedes once again set the benchmark high with this new E-Class? Stay tuned to find out. Now before we start talking about the updated exterior styling for the new E-Class, here in America the company is launching it with 2 different powertrains. The base model is the E350, which has a 4-cylinder turbo. However, this powertrain that I'm showing you here is the upgraded engine. It's a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6. Now, if you guys are familiar with the Benz lineup, you'll know that this engine first made its debut in the 2021 E-Class as part of a significant refresh. For 2024, the engine basically carries over, but the company has given it more power. It's a 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 augmented by a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which the company calls EQ Boost. It now makes more power this year, up to 375 horsepower. That's an increase of 13 from the previous generation, and it still makes 369 pound-feet of torque. Being a mild hybrid, it essentially removes a lot of the accessory drive belts. It has an electric motor that adds around 23 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque on its own, but it never combines with the output of the inline-6. It's just there to kind of, smooth out the start-stop technology and fill in the gaps whenever the turbos are spooling up. Now it all goes out through a 9-speed automatic transmission. It's a torque converter automatic, and all E-Classes in the US come standard with the company's 4Matic all-wheel drive system. No rear drive model is available, at least here in the US. Now, in terms of fuel economy, this model is rated at 22 in the city, 31 on the highway, 25 combined. It has just under an 18-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 440 miles of range on a full tank. That's of course on premium gas. The company claims this model should hit 60 in around 4.4 seconds. It have a top speed of around 130 miles an hour, and as this car sits, it weighs in at just under 4,400 pounds. It's about 100 to 200 pounds heavier versus the previous generation. But let me go ahead and close this up right here. I just kind of noticed this. I didn't leave that open, somebody else did. That's actually to access the 12-volt battery, it looks like. But closing the hood and take a look at the exterior styling. Now this particular one that I'm showing you is painted in a dark blue exterior color. It kind of looks black, but it's called nautical blue. It certainly looks good and classy along the lines of the new E-Class. And as you guys know, Mercedes tends to offer their sedans in small, medium, and large. And the E-Class has always been the medium right-sized offering. You can see the front fascia and the hood has a lot of creases on it with the 3-pointed star logo. It has these upgraded digital light full LED headlights, which have the ability to project symbols onto the road. They are a full LED with an LED daytime running light, LED turn signals. It looks very much distinctive, different versus what you see in the S-Class and C-Class. The grille, as you can see, this is the signature star, 3-pointed star grille with chrome accents along. There's also an LED light that kind of illuminates the inside of the grille. It makes the stars glisten at night, which looks really upscale and premium. You can see down here at the lower fascia, there are some fake and functional vents, along with, I believe, some active grille shutters. My test car is missing the night package for an extra 300 bucks that would black out a lot of the chrome, but it does look good, of course, with the dark blue exterior color. All 450s come with the AMG body styling package, so it's got the sport-oriented look. And then this is built on the new MRA2 architecture, a modular rear drive architecture that also underpins the new S-Class and the new C-Class. Its overall length and wheelbase have roughly stayed the same, but they've only grown just a smidge. So at 5.9 inches long with a 116.6 inch long wheelbase. This car is about an inch longer and an inch wider than the previous generation. You can see my test car for an extra $2,000 has an AMG 20-inch multi-spoke wheel, which kind of has more of an aerodynamic, finish to it. It's riding on a 245 by 40 R20 Pirelli P0 all-season tire. The rears are fatter at 275 by 35 R20. The brake rotors you can see with the AMG body styling, I believe they measure 14.4 inches. They are cross-drilled, clamped down by a 4-piston caliper. My test car also has an Airmatic air adaptive suspension along with active rear wheel steering. So those rear wheels will turn up to 4.5 degrees in either the same or opposite direction to help make this vehicle feel even smaller when you're trying to traverse some tight parking areas. Now you can see the side sill has some chrome along with some chrome along the window trim and the door handles. You can black that out if you guys prefer. If you get the night package, you can see the mirrors are power folding, integrated turn signals with cameras surrounding the vehicle. There's also 2 cameras it looks like at the front, along with actually 3 cameras, and then all E-classes come standard with the panoramic glass roof, which also opens up to vent air. Love the fact that Mercedes actually makes that standard. And when you look at the car from this angle, this is where it kind of tricks you into thinking that you bought an S-Class because of the extreme length. It has that classic rear drive luxury sedan proportions where it has a long wheelbase, short front overhang as well. And then looking at the rear, you can see the design is kind of a combination between the new C and S-Class. I really appreciate the new taillights where it's a full LED design. You can also see the taillight light signature for the brake lights also emulates the 3-pointed star logo. So that's a nice little touch. Some of you may like that, or you might find it to be a little ostentatious. You can see there's an E450 badge here along with the 4Matic. That's going to be standard. The exhaust system, you can see, it looks like there's actually dual chrome exhaust tips, but if you look a little bit closer, those are actually fake. The actual pipes are tucked underneath the rear bumper. This again has the AMG body styling package as standard with integrated parking sensors, of course. The trunk also is power opening and closing. That's part of the Pinnacle package that my test car has as well, I believe. And you also have a really nice sized trunk. Mercedes says 12.7 cubic feet of cargo space. You can also hydraulically fold those seats down from back here, which I remember a lot of luxury cars didn't offer fold down seats, so it's nice to see that. The other great surprise is when you look underneath the floor here, there's also additional underfloor storage. No spare tire, there's just a fix-a-flat kit and a sealant kit. But Mercedes says when you add the storage underneath here, there's a total of 19 cubic feet, which is actually a lot for a sedan. I have trouble believing that figure. I'd say their actual true figure is more like 13, just under 13 cubic feet. But again, if you guys want more space, Mercedes will offer the E-Class as a wagon as well. But if you're looking for a coupe or convertible, you're gonna have to switch over to a new model, which they're calling the CLE class. So on the outside, this thing is still instantly recognizable as a Mercedes-Benz, but let's go ahead and take a look at the interior because that's really where a lot of luxury buyers are going to be spending all their time, and it's a huge deciding factor. Now, as you can see, here's the key fob for the vehicle. All E-Class models come standard with the company's keyless access system. The new fob itself is very heavy. I like the metal that's accenting it. It has the usual buttons for lock, unlock, remote open for the trunk, and a panic feature. No remote start, it looks like, from the fob, but if you have access to the Mercedes Me app, you should be able to remote start it from there, and I believe use your phone as a key. You can see when the doors are locked, the door handles themselves, they'll kind of retract inward. The mirrors will also power fold. That's very similar to the S-Class, of course. Whenever you approach the vehicle or unlock it, the door handles will pop out, the mirrors will unfold, and again, it basically welcomes you to your new E-Class. Now you can see my test car has a wonderful color combination, the dark blue with the Neva gray and black Nappa leather upgraded interior. This is like an extra $3,000 where you have the diamond stitching, the cross stitching. These seats adjust in, I believe, like 20 different ways. The adjustments are all located on the door panels. They're heated and ventilated with 3-person memory. You get the same thing on the passenger side as well. So again, a nice detail that typically goes with a lot of luxury vehicles. Now you can see, I will say, for a Nappa leather seat, I will say that the padding could be softer. These seats also don't have the ability to, I believe, adjust these bolsters a little bit more, so they don't hold you in place quite nicely during aggressive driving. But I just wanted the padding to be softer, so try the seats out for yourselves to see if you like them. I just spent some time in the new BMW i5, and I much preferred the seats in the BMW, so kind of keep that in mind. In terms of the door panels, you can see there's beautiful real leather stitching going across the upper portion. There's also gorgeous ambient lighting that kind of goes along the entire door panels following into the rear. Padded leather over here, aluminum trim here, metal accents for the one-touch power window controls. One-touch power, or also has power folding mirrors. And you can see the seats, you're controlled via this little area where it looks like the seat and it doesn't actually move. It's like got haptic feedback and that takes a little bit of getting used to. Aluminum accents for the door handles, carpeted area inside the storage cubby, padded down here, which is nice. And then my test car also has the upgraded 17-speaker Burmester 4D sound system. That's right, it's a 4D sound system, and that's because there are actually woofers in each of the front seats, which basically produce like that thumping bass in your actual butt when you're driving the vehicle. It certainly takes some getting used to, but that's how it creates that 4D effect. Which is, if you're an audiophile, you'll really appreciate that. Now, as I get into the vehicle, you can see it's a sedan, so it has a nice low step-in height. And then when I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, and my test car is missing the soft close feature. That's an extra $850, an a la carte option. When you want to start the vehicle up, the start-stop button is here. Everything kind of whirs to life, and that's because this is a mild hybrid, so you don't have to worry about a traditional engine starter. Now, of course, when you get into this vehicle, you're going to be hit with an overload of technology, and that's because my test car has the optional super screen. Now, every E-Class will come with 2 digital displays. You'll have a 12.3-inch cluster here. My test car also has the option for the 3D effect for an extra $1,000, and then the center has a landscape style 14.4-inch display, the 3rd generation of their MBUX, which they've made some improvements to. And then the option here is the 12.3-inch passenger display, which that's the background. You can change that screensaver. You can basically watch movies. You can control the center screen from over here on the passenger side. So it really, is an impressive piece of technology. And it really is going to wow a lot of people when they first get into this vehicle. Now, the steering wheel, you can see this is the AMG specific steering wheel that you get with the AMG line body styling. It's got a nice thick rim and contrast stitching. The leather feels good in your hands. I also like the way the steering wheel looks. I don't love the piano black plastic here. It just shows fingerprints and scratches too easily. It's a power tilt telescoping design, paddles on the wheel. You have touch sensitive controls for the actual instrument panel, which takes a little bit of getting used to, which also controls that screen if you guys prefer. Touch controls for the audio as well. The horn, it sounds pretty nondescript but appropriately sized. There's also a heads-up display included with the Pinnacle trim of my test car. And then you can see the dash has the same nice leather stitching on the upper portion that kind of mimics the door panel. There's also an LED light bar that goes along the entire dash. That LED light bar is also interactive. You can also change the color from 64 different colors. It's actually standard on every version of the E-Class. And it'll also do a feature where it'll pulsate to the music. I actually had a chance to try it out at night. I don't like it. I think it's super distracting. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys like it or don't like it. Thankfully, you can turn that feature off. I'm just surprised that it actually is passing safety regulations, to be honest. Now, over here in the center, you can see very, very noticeable camera for the interior. That's going to basically serve as a camera where you can essentially take Zoom calls or whatever kind of FaceTime that you'd like, meetings, virtual meetings from the car, and you can also open it up a selfie camera function where you can take a selfie and it actually will show you, what's or the entire interior portfolio of the vehicle. You can see there's the embedded GPS with the car, which looks really fantastic. I also love the way how it's super integrated into the dash. The dash vents also have a nice satisfying clicky feel to them. I also appreciate the fact that they're just a traditional manual vent. I don't love the way this vent over here looks. It also has the same satisfying click, but it also just feels really awkward. It feels like it's broken to be able to do that, but again, it's doing a good job of redirecting the air. I don't love the piano black plastic trim. I also don't love how there's a big gap there and a big gap over here on this side. Again, my test car is not a pre-production car, but to me, this looks and feels a little bit cheap. It's also not the most flush-mounted gap. And if you also look over here, I do love this beautiful black ash wood trim, but when you open this up, this edge right here is really hard and sharp. So it's also already chipped over here. So I think this is kind of a little detail that I wasn't expecting from Mercedes. I think they could have done a better job there. You can see over here in the instrument panel, if I click the home display here, this is where you can essentially go into a redesigned menu app function. If you go to the app store here, you can see there's all these new sources where there's now Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify. You can essentially log in and it'll preload everything into the native system, which I love. There's also games where you can play Sudoku, Shuffle Puck, and whatnot. Tidal as well. There's also the gallery where you can view your photos. You have to insert a USB stick to actually take photos and save them onto that stick. If I see here, you can go into the camera system. That essentially allows you to pull up the selfie cam. You can see it actually shows you a really cool view where you can literally see every person in the interior. So that's a really great feature to have. My phone is connected via the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can see it's pretty quick and snappy and responsive. I also love how it takes up the full screen. Remember, the last E-Class that I tested was a wired connection CarPlay, and it didn't take up the entire screen. That was back in 2021. I can't remember if in 2023 Mercedes had fixed that. But again, love that feature. It's got their zero layer introduction feature where it basically tries to implement touches and menus that you constantly use down here, so you don't have to go through all the different sources. You can see there's a vehicle icon where you can access some quick things as well. Your climate function is over here. Air quality, my test car also has the energizing air control, but there's no perfume that wafts a scent into this vehicle. And my test car is also missing the massaging seats. That's an extra $1,000 if you guys want the massaging seat function. But again, everything in this infotainment system takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, it works really nicely, and it also just looks very, very impressive. Now, putting the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full top-down 360 camera with trajectory, front and rear parking sensors, cross-traffic braking, all the good stuff. The camera quality and resolution also is among the best in the industry. You can also do a perimeter scan around the vehicle. It also has the 360 camera as standard equipment on every model of the E-Class, along with their active park assist. So before, Mercedes would typically make you pay extra for that, but it's nice to see that they're including it, especially when you're considering how much you're paying for this type of vehicle. You can see down here, there's some actual buttons for your volume, touch control, a mute button. You can also turn off the display, access a car icon here that'll pull up a lot of things where you can essentially turn on and off the heads-up display. You can raise and lower the vehicle, turn on the active lane keep assist. You can also go into here and adjust a couple of other things. So that's a nice quick access point. That's where you can activate your automatic parallel park feature. And then your drive mode selector is going to be located down here. Let me turn that camera off. And you can basically go from an eco mode to a comfort to a sport and an individual. We'll try out the different drive modes later on to show you guys what that's like. This car also comes with the latest generation of Mercedes voice commands through their virtual assistant. There's also AI technology in this vehicle. You can also give it 2 commands where you can basically tell it to set the temperature to 68 degrees and turn on the passenger side cool seat. It'll allow you to do both, which is kind of a cool feature, a nice party trick that, again, Mercedes is expanding on with their newer technology and whatnot. You can see down here in the center console area, like I said, when I open this up, there's 2 cup holders, there's 2 USB charging ports, a wireless phone charging pad here. Again, I don't love the sharp edge. I do love the interior ambient lighting. You can see it's nice and padded over here where you'd rest your elbow. Open that up, you can see there's 2 more USB charging ports, so there's 4 here total, and there's a nice deeply sized center console area. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, are the leather and the material in the seat looks nice, but I just wanted them to be a little bit softer. Thankfully, the cooled function works nicely, especially during the hot climate that we're kind of dealing with right now. The glove compartment, you can see, is going into the dash. It's stamped but not lined with felt. It's a really nice size. You can see over here on the passenger split display, if I want to turn that on, you can essentially basically just tell it to go into a different user, and this is where it allows you to, again, access a lot of the different menu items from here over onto the passenger side. You can pull up GPS, you can control the audio system, you can control seat comfort, you can control the webcam. The one thing I'm surprised about is when I'm sitting here on the driver's side, I can still see that screen, which doesn't make sense to me. I thought that was a liability issue, so I'm not entirely sure why I can see the screen. What's interesting, however, is if I look at it from this side, I'm noticing that you can't actually see the screen from that side, so I'm not sure why that's the case. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys know why, because from here I can still see the screen, and that could be a safety problem. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but it's kind of nice how the screen is bright. It's 12.3 inches. It's much more usable versus the passenger display that you find in some Stellantis vehicles, which I find it to be incredibly useless. But overall, you can see the interior. It smells expensive in here. It has nice materials, some fit and finish issues, and there's also a little bit of cheapness. I don't like all the piano black plastic, but it certainly has the level of technology that you expect from a Mercedes-Benz. And if you guys are an audiophile, the Burmester 4D audio system is among the best that you're going to find in the segment. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of the new E-Class, which, by the way, this car only comes as a sedan or wagon here in the US, in case I forgot to mention that. But you can see in terms of legroom back here, this is where it's going to be kind of like that perfect middle ground between a C and an E-Class. I believe there's around just under 37 inches of legroom back here. You can see you still have the same beautiful quilted leather seats. back here. And in terms of the materials, you can see there's a nice leather covering the upper portion, leather here, piano black, aluminum trim, aluminum for the speakers. My test car is missing the retractable manual shades and the retractable shade in the back window as well. That's an extra a la carte option for, I believe, an extra $900, which I think should be standard, especially if you're gonna go for the Pinnacle trim. Now, as I shut the door, the space back here is pretty good. This is where I'd have the seat to drive for my driving position. There is a hump here because remember, this is a rear drive biased vehicle. There are some rear seat air vents back here. And there's two USB-C charging ports down here. There's a big open area because my test car probably is missing like a rear climate package where you can get like 3 or 4 zone climate control. So that looks a little bit cheap how that's open and kind of just missing. You can see there's 2 storage cubbies in each of the seat back pockets. And then if you fold this down, you can see there's a nice armrest. Open that up. There's almost like a phone holder here. Push it again. There's pop-out cup holders, which again would be nice. I love the fact that the headliner is also gray. There's a big panoramic glass roof, which by the way, I've been having it closed because it's so hot outside, but open that up, you can see the shade opens up in both directions, and you can see there is a bar here that kind of intersects and kind of cuts into the actual glass. You can open up this sunroof as well, but this lets in a lot of light, which I appreciate, which looks good with the light color headliner. I really would recommend going for the shades, especially since it's so hot and bright outside right now. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see for somebody my height, my head gets kind of close to the ceiling, but just keep in mind, I'm shorter. So if you're really tall, you're gonna find the headroom space to be a little bit lacking. The legroom space is good, but again, it's better than a C-Class, but if you want more space, that's why Mercedes-Benz offers the S-Class. So overall, this back seat is usable, but I believe it feels a little bit smaller versus the last BMW 5 Series that I was in about a month ago. So it's been about 3 years since I had a Mercedes-Benz E-Class sedan to test for you guys. And as you guys know, this is the all new generation version. Now in its 6th generation, this is my first time driving the new E-Class. And even though it is an all new generation, it is built off of the same new architecture, the rear drive architecture that was introduced in the C-Class and in the S-Class, the new ones, of course. So I've had some, time, to spend with this chassis, although in the E-Class, this is supposed to be the just right sized vehicle. Now, here in America, we're launching the vehicle with basically 2 models, the 350 4Matic and the 450 4Matic. I'm driving the quicker option. For an extra $8,000, you get a significant power jump here to 375 horsepower. It has about 13 more ponies than the previous generation. The last one that I drove was a 2021 when it first got the turbo inline 6 with the mild hybrid system. Now I have the vehicle in its sports setting right now. Let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise on our usual stretch of road here for testing. I think the last time I tested the wagon, I got 5.3 seconds. Oof, definitely feels quick. Sounds great too. Wow, 0 to 60 in 4.67 seconds. Now, I believe the last 2021 that I tested did it in 4.9. This car weighs about 100 pounds more than the previous generation, so that performance is nicely improved. Remember, the 48-volt mild hybrid system, they call it EQ Boost, basically accelerates the car when the turbos are still spooling for the engine, so it kind of gives you very little to no lag. It's got a smooth shifting 9-speed torque converter automatic, and of course with 4Matic all-wheel drive, it just takes off each time with very little drama. The inline 6 also has a nice snarl to it, although it's not quite as loud as I'd like it to be. Remember, this is not an AMG model. We're expecting Mercedes to eventually introduce an AMG model like a 53 and a 63 E-Performance at some point as well. But that time is going to be honestly fast enough for most people. Let's try another run here. This time I won't brake torque it, we'll just floor it. Noticeably slower off the line without brake torquing it, but this thing moves. 5.2 seconds there with it more going slightly uphill, which probably added around 0.1. You're probably shaving off around 0.2 to 0.3 seconds by brake torquing it. There's no dedicated launch control, but it essentially gets the turbo spooled up, so there's even less lag. And then of course the mild hybrid system adds its assist individually to kind of mitigate the lag. So, this is a really nice powertrain. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's refined, it's got a really great quick and smooth shifting 9-speed auto. And then in terms of the handling dynamics, my test car has the Airmatic suspension, so it has the adaptive air springs with the rear axle steering. It'll turn up to 4.5 degrees in either the same or opposite direction depending on, the speeds that you're driving. And the E-Class has always been a really well-rounded sedan. I mean, this is definitely not an AMG model, but as you can see, the steering is quick, it's direct, it's sporty, the body stays nice and flat. you don't really feel too much of the weight. I mean, I'm still driving around in a near 4,400 pound vehicle, but it feels like a luxury car. It has a level of solidity, and it just has a level of effortlessness. It's also really quiet, although with these big 21-inch AMG style wheels, I am hearing a little more road noise than I would prefer to hear. But, you know, as I go around some corners here, this is why people, you know, think an S-Class feels too much like a boat. A C-Class can be a little too small. The E-Class is a legend because, again, it is the just right sized vehicle. Although I guess some of you may argue that it's the size of an S-Class from like 20, 30 years ago, but that's beside the point. Modern cars today have just gotten larger and larger. So that's kind of the case for a lot of other vehicles out there. Now, the one thing I love about the rear axle steering is it really significantly shortens the size of this vehicle, or makes it feel smaller because the turning radius shrinks. And there are times where you do have to get used to the rear axle steering because, again, it can make the car turn a little bit too much than you expected. But once you get used to that, it kind of just has, you know, that nice effortless feel. The other great thing about this car with the air suspension, which, by the way, steel springs with adaptive dampers come standard, is the ride quality. This car has a really plush, supple ride, even in sport mode. I could daily it in this mode and it doesn't feel harsh or, you know, too high strung. Again, you can also switch it into different drive modes as well, like a comfort or an eco setting, which I'll try out in just a moment. But overall, you know, there's a reason why the E-Class is legendary. It has just that well-balanced feel that a lot of people love when you're looking at this particular class of vehicle. The midsize executive luxury sedan is just a wonderful, you know, vehicle to spend time in. Let's go ahead and try another 0 to 60 here. Brake torquing it. Whew. 4.68 again, so very consistent performance that, you know, I think most people are going to be pleased with. Keep in mind, AMG models are coming that'll probably shave the 0 to 60 down to under 4 seconds to even maybe low 3 seconds for the 63. Haven't had a chance to drive that new 63 SE Performance, but I'm hoping I'll be able to do so very, very soon. Again, that rear wheel steering really helping to shorten the turning radius. And when you're just driving the vehicle normally, the engine doesn't really make itself known aside from a subtle snarl, but let's go ahead and switch the drive mode here. I'll switch it into its comfort setting. In comfort setting, the steering gets a little bit lighter, the dampers get a little bit softer. The seats, these are definitely not the AMG seats. They don't hold you in place very nicely. They're just kind of there for plushness and comfort. My test car is missing the massaging seats for an extra charge. I do have the ventilated seats, which on this really hot, 100-degree day, I very much appreciate, but they could be colder. I've felt colder ventilated seats in other, competitor vehicles. Visibility out of this car is also pretty good out of the front, the side. The rear is also decently, decent sized window, but there's no digital camera rear view mirror. That would be a nice touch. This car also comes with the latest suite of Mercedes active driver assistance tech, where it will actively, follow the car in front of you to a full stop. It has full speed range adaptive cruise. It has auto lane changes. It'll even initiate a lane change around a slower vehicle if you have that setting turned on, or if you have it, the navigation on, it'll also start to move its way over to the exit in advance, assuming that it's safe to move so. So again, that's very much similar to GM and Cadillac Super Cruise, for example. So it's great to see Mercedes is kind of still keeping pace with the leader in terms of driver assistance tech. It's what you expect from Mercedes. I mean, this is a brand built, of course, on technology, luxury, and build quality, so that doesn't surprise me there. The seats, I will say, for the upgraded leather material that's like an extra $3,000, the padding of the seats could be plusher. I'm not sure I'm in love with how, the seats are fitting. Like for me, I feel like I'm sitting on the seat and I feel like the seats could be plusher, but try the seats out for yourself, see if it actually works for you. In terms of fuel efficiency, this car is rated at 22 in the city, 31 on the highway, 25 combined. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged just shy of 23 mpg in mostly city driving. The auto start stop certainly helps with the EQ boost mild hybrid technology. On the highway, however, this car was getting up to 33 mpg in my testing, which is excellent. These inline six engines with their EQ boost mild hybrid technology are always super fuel efficient. And with a 17.7 gallon fuel tank, you're looking at around 450 miles of range on a full tank, which is what I was actually getting in my testing, which is phenomenal. I mean, this is just a mild hybrid. There's rumors of a plug-in hybrid coming to the US. It's already available in other markets. So this is still among the most quickest, most fuel efficient, most comfortable, most luxurious sedans out there. And of course, with the new tech, love this, super screen that you get. I don't really think that screen is very useful, but I love how it's clear, it's bright. You can also change the back background for that screen. That's much better versus what you'll find in some Stellantis vehicles where you can't even see the passenger screen from the driver's side. But from here you can just see the background, and then you can see wireless CarPlay is there, which it's got full screen CarPlay now, which is a big upgrade versus the last E-Class that I drove. So overall, you know, if you guys are looking for an executive luxury sedan, not very many people are buying this class of vehicle anymore. People are buying SUVs, but this is how people judge Mercedes or other luxury brands, is their sedans. And the E-Class definitely sets a new standard for itself. I already had some time to spend with the new 5 Series, which is also an excellent vehicle. This new E-Class is kind of right in the same par category, but Mercedes doesn't do electric versions of this, although we hear that they are planning to do that, and they're going away from the silly EQE and what naming, you know, nomenclature. But overall, if you're looking for a fuel-efficient, gas-powered, mid-size luxury sedan, and you don't necessarily need all the extra sportiness that comes with the AMG models, you should definitely put this new E-Class at the very top of your list. Now, about 15 years ago, there was a time where Mercedes was selling just under 70,000 E-Class models here in the US every year, making this vehicle literally the best-selling mid-size executive luxury sedan. However, those days are long gone, and last year in America in 2023, the company managed to move a little over 17,000 units here in the US, making this car the second bestseller. Technically, the BMW 5 Series outsold the E-Class last year, but that could change. We do have a new version of the 5 Series and a new version of the E-Class, and after spending the full week with this brand new 6th generation W214 E-Class for you chassis nerds out there, I have to say Mercedes has essentially captured the magic that I love in the S-Class and brought it down the ladder into the midsize E-Class. This vehicle here with its 3-liter turbo inline 6 offers plenty of effortless power. Among combustion engines, this is among the most smoothest and most responsive and most fuel-efficient motors that you're going to find out there. Even though I couldn't quite get a 0-60 time to match what Mercedes claims, 4.6 seconds is certainly no slouch. It cruises along very nicely. It has a very comfortable ride. It's also sporty when you need it to be, with that air suspension and the adaptive rear wheel steering. It makes this car feel a lot smaller than it actually is. The technology in this vehicle, however, is the huge selling feature. If you guys are a fan of screens and tech and a lot of, you know, cool Easter eggs, the E-Class certainly delivers. Again, if you don't want the super screen, you could also forgo that option. You still will have the big 14.4-inch display with the all-digital instrument panel. I probably would skip the 3D instrument cluster for $1,000. I just don't find it worth it. The backseat also offers a decent amount of space, although again, if you want more, that's where the S-Class comes into play. And I am a little bit sad to see that Mercedes didn't launch this car with AMG models, at least for now. They are going to be eventually coming, and if you guys want a coupe or convertible, that's where the CLE class comes into play. I'm hoping I can also get a chance to drive that model, and of course the new wagon version of this vehicle. And of course, being a Mercedes-Benz, this is where you're going to be paying a pretty penny to get into one of these vehicles. The new E-Class, starting at the E350 with the 4-cylinder turbo and all-wheel drive, starts at around $63,000 for the base price, at about $6,000 if you guys want the the inline 6. This is going to start at around $68,100. Of course, being a Mercedes, there's a ton of options, from the adaptive air suspension with rear wheel steering, the Burmester sound system, the Pinnacle trim upgrade, the upgraded leather that my test car has, with the super screen as part of an option as well. My test car here, with all the options, comes in at just under $88,000, around $87,920 to be exact, which makes this car pretty expensive. In fact, if you're comparing it to the brand new BMW 5 Series, comparably equipped for a 540i xDrive, this is going to cost you around $8,000 more expensive. If you are comparing it, however, to an Audi S6, which technically offers more power and performance and a little bit more prestige than this, the Audi will cost you around $85,000 to $90,000 as well. So Mercedes in general tends to charge a little bit more. Is it worth the extra price premium? That really depends. If you're super loyal to the Mercedes brands and the E-Class, which a lot of buyers are, you're going to easily plop down that additional money and just trade in your current lease for a new lease on this new version. But if you guys are, interested in seeing what else is out there, because this segment continues to shrink, but there's a lot of good entries, I highly encourage you to also check out some of the competition, namely the new BMW 5 Series or the Audi A6, because those two vehicles, again, are also really nice cars, and you can also get them for similar to less money. So it really comes down to brand loyalty and which vehicle speaks to you in general if you're looking for a luxury sedan. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2024 Mercedes-Benz E450. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.